Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Inshallah, we will continue to read in the explanation of the authentic book of Imam Muslim, Sahih Muslim. And we had stopped at the hadith number 220 in the order of the book. And this hadith is under the subtitle of باب كون الإسلام يهدم ما قبله وكذا الحج والهجرة. Imam Muslim put this under the title of that this chapter discusses the fact that Islam, embracing Islam, eliminates all the evil deeds that happened before the person embracing Islam. And the same applies to Hajj and Hijrah. Hajj and Hijrah, pilgrimage and migration. Hijrah at the time meant to migrate from Mecca to join the Muslim community in Medina. All these were major acts of worship that we will read in the hadith, that they basically wipe out and eliminate the evil deeds that happened before that good deed of embracing Islam or performing pilgrimage or making migration to the Messenger ﷺ took place. Everything before that. I would like to mention something as well about embracing Islam, which I did not mention in a previous hadith, which discussed the same point, that embracing Islam wipes out the evil deeds the person committed before becoming a Muslim. Not only that, but also if the person had good deeds that he did before becoming a Muslim, those deeds are accounted for. If he had not embraced Islam, they would not have been accounted for, but they are accounted for if he became a Muslim. That is mentioned in multiple hadiths as well. Now, there's a hadith, I think Hakim ibn Hizam asked the Messenger ﷺ that because he was doing some good deeds before he became Muslim. He says, we used to feed the poor, we used to help the weak, we used to free slaves before Islam. Will we be rewarded for that? And he said to him, Aslamta ala ma aslafta min khair. That basically, this what you have done of goodness, it will be added to what you will start doing now after Islam. Or it could also mean that because you were a good person before knowing about Islam, Allah chose you to become a Muslim. Allah chose you to become a Muslim. But there's other ahadith that clearly state that the good deeds are accounted for very explicitly. I just don't recall the hadith right now. Abdul Nasser is not here. Then the following hadith here, I will read this hadith to you. This is the hadith of Amr ibn al-As. I mentioned some of his biography in the last class because of the importance of knowing his achievements in Islam. This will give a greater weight to the words that he will say in this hadith. I did mention to you just some points which I will summarize. Number one, Messenger ﷺ attested for him that he is a believer. He says, Aslam an-nas wa amana Amrun. He says people have embraced Islam and Amr ibn al-As has become a believer. Also he says, Ibna al-As mu'minain Hisham wa Amr. He says the sons of al-As, their father, are believers, both of them, Hisham wa Amr. Hisham was younger. And I mentioned that he embraced Islam at age 50. And his embracing Islam came late. After, they say, in the 8th year, so he only witnessed 2 years with the Messenger ﷺ before he died ﷺ. But despite that, Messenger ﷺ, when he became a Muslim with two major Sahaba as well. One of them is Uthman ibn Talha and Khalid ibn Walid. عمر شوف لنا الحديث بتاع ايه ان الاعمال ما شكرا. And then when the Messenger ﷺ saw them all three coming, and they were all leaders, military leaders of Quraysh, Khalid ibn Walid, Amr ibn al-As, and they are the people who conquered the Persian and the Roman Empire. Khalid Molina Amr ibn al-As. Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ramatna Makkatu bifalathati akbadiha." He says, Mecca has sent to us, because they came willingly. He says, Mecca has sent to us the most precious and most valued of its sons. Arabs say faladat akbadiha. It says like a piece of your liver, because the liver is so precious for the human being. He says it has given us a part of its liver. That's an expression. And so Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam attested for him as being a good Muslim. Also, even for his household, he says, "Ni'ma ahlul bayt, Abdullah, his son, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, wa Amr, wa Abu Abdullah, wa Abdullah." He says those three people are righteous people. Anyhow, also he was given leadership of Ghazawat missions that the Messenger ﷺ sent during his lifetime, such as the battle of, or the mission of Zat al-Salasil, and he participated in demolishing idols around Mecca, and he was sent also to At-Ta'if. So the moment he became Muslim, over these 2 years, he did so many accomplishments, even during the life of the Messenger. He participated in fighting in the battles of Ar-Ridda, where people apostatized. Some people apostatized after the dying of the Messenger. So he also fought against them. And he participated in all the wars that led to the conquest of Jordan, Palestine, Syria. And I'll read to you the hadith that indicates that the good deeds are accounted for. Now. نعم إذا أسلم الكافر فحسن إسلامه كتب الله تعالى له كل حسنة زلفها, which means that if a person embraces Islam and sincerely becomes a good Muslim, Allah will account for him every good deed that he did even before he became a Muslim. So it's explicitly mentioned here. He was appointed as a ruler over Jordan one time and over Palestine, and then he went and conquered Egypt. The Byzantine Empire was sending armies raiding on Jordan and Palestine, which is neighboring Egypt. So he sent a letter to Umar ibn Khattab at the time and said to him, "We need to go and conquer Egypt as well to stop these raids." So he went only with 5,000 of his men, and he went along the shore and he conquered. He defeated the Roman armies in multiple battles, going all the way to Alexandria. And then most of the Egyptians, because the Egyptians had a different Christian belief. The Christians of Egypt had a different belief than the Byzantines, than the Romans, and they were oppressed and tortured and killed so they were relieved, and actually they cooperated with Amr ibn al-As in conquering Egypt. Many of them embraced Islam, and also many remained as Christians. But anyhow, I wanted to mention that to you to show you his achievements, and at the same time how humble he is at the time of death. This hadith, the person, his name is Ibn Shumasat al-Mahri, قال حضرنا عمرو بن العاص وهو في سياقة الموت. He says we attended to Amr ibn al-As while he was dying. فبكى طويلا وحول وجهه إلى الجدار. Subhanallah. He cried and cried. بكى طويلا وحول وجهه إلى الجدار. فجعل ابنه يقول له يا أبتاه أما بشرك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بكذا أما بشرك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بكذا. So when he started crying, then he turned away from the people attending to him and he faced the wall. Scholars say that he wanted to be alone and to basically focus on making dua and zikr to Allah Azza wa Jal without disturbance. So when his son saw him crying, he says to him, "Oh father, didn't the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam give you the good news of such and such are the things I mentioned to you? Didn't he tell you such and such?" So he's consoling him. فقال فأقبل بوجهه. Then he looked at them and said to them, فقال إن أفضل ما نعد شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله. He says the best thing that we can meet Allah Azza wa Jal with, that we store for ourselves to meet Allah, is our shahada, our testimony that there's no one worthy of worship except Allah, and that the Messenger ﷺ, and that Muhammad ﷺ is his final messenger. I say this because he didn't mention all the other achievements and the battles that he went to, fighting for the sake of Allah, and there's so many people who became Muslims because of his actions. All this he put aside totally, didn't even mention. He says, what I put my hopes in is that I believe in Allah, subhanallah. And then he says, إني قد كنت على أطباق ثلاثة. He says, I had 3 stages in my life. I'll read the hadith quickly, then we'll conclude this session. لقد رأيتني وما أحد أشد بغضا لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مني. He says, at one point in my life, there was nobody more detested and hated in my eyes than the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. ولا أحب إلي أن أكون قد استمكنت منه فقتلته. He says, there's no one I wanted to lay my hands on and kill except the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. That was before he became a Muslim. And then he says, فلو مت على تلك الحال لكنت من أهل النار. He says, if I had died during that stage in my life, I would have definitely been of the people of the hellfire. Okay, and then he says, فلما جعل الله الإسلام في قلبي, when then Allah placed Islam in my heart, أتيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, I came to the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم, فقلت أبسط يمينك فلأبايعك, فبسط يمينه. He said to the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم, give me your hand so that I can give you my pledge. So the Messenger did put his hand forward. قال فقبضت يدي. Then Amr held his hand back for a little moment. قال ما لك يا عمرو. قال قلت أردت أن أشترط. He says, what's wrong, Amr? He says, I have a condition. I want to make one condition. قال تشترط بماذا? He says, what is your condition? قال أن يغفر لي. He says, my condition is that I want my sins that I did before to be forgiven. So he fought against Muslims for many, many years. And of course, he resulted in the killing of many people. And he was, as I mentioned to you, he was the one who went to try to get the Muslims back from Abyssinia when they fled. Right? فالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أما علمت أن الإسلام يهدم ما كان قبله. He says, don't you know that Islam wipes out and takes out everything that has happened before it? وأن الهجرة تهدم ما كان قبلها. And also migration. And he also migrated to the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. تهدم ما كان قبلها. It also does the same. It wipes out the previous sins. وأن الحج يهدم ما كان قبله. Of course, Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم, frequently when he teaches, he gives more information than what is required for that instant. So he combined these 3 things. He says the Hajj also does the same thing. It wipes away the previous sins. وما كان أحد أحب إلي من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says after that moment there was nobody more beloved and delightful to my eyes than the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says nobody was more beloved to me ولا أجل في عيني منه. And no one was more respected in my eyes than the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says وما كنت أطيق أن أملأ عيني منه إجلالا له. He says I respected him so much and revered him so much that I would not dare to look him in the face for too long. He maybe look like this and then look down, look like this just quickly and continue to look down in the presence of the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. ولو سئلت أن أصفه ما أطقت لأني لم أكن أملأ عيني منه. Said to the extent that if you ask me to describe how he looks, I wouldn't be able to describe him. Subhanallah. Although he's living with him, but out of so much reverence, he doesn't look him in the eye so much. Subhanallah. He says, وَلَوْ مِتُّ عَلَى تِلْكَ الْحَالَ رَجَوْتُ أَنْ أَكُونَ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. He says, if I had died during that stage of my life, I would have hoped to be amongst the people of Jannah, paradise. And then he says, ثُمَّ وُلِّينَ أَشْيَاء مَا أَدْرِي مَا حَالِي فِيهَا. He says, then we took so many responsibilities. I don't know exactly what my situation is with Allah Azza wa Jal in all these responsibilities that I took. Of course, and he's a ruler on over multiple countries, right? And then he says, فإذا أنا مت, he says, once I die, فلا تصحبني نائحة ولا نار. He says, I don't want anybody to start wailing or screaming, and I don't want anybody to follow my funeral with a fire. That's one of the actions of Jahiliyyah, pre-Islamic period. They used to do that. فإذا دفنتموني فشنوا علي التراب. Once you bury me, cover my body with dust or earth. شنا ثم أقيم حول قبري قدر ما تنحر جزور. Then please stay around my grave for a short while, قدر ما تنحر الجزور ويقسم لحمها. A period of time equivalent to what would be needed to slaughter maybe a sheep or a goat and distribute its meat, which means maybe about half hour or so, 20 minutes, half hour. حتى أستأنس بكم. He says, so I can feel, so I feel I have some company with me. وأنظر ماذا أراجع به رسل ربي. He says, so I can feel a little bit comforted while I'm being questioned by رسل ربي, the messengers of my Lord, meaning that the angels who come and question the person in the grave. We'll stop here, inshallah.